I absolutely love collecting rocks. They're just so beautiful. I'll get them off of the beach while I'm out hiking. I'll even grab those polished ones out of the craft store. Now, what do you do with them all, right? Well, today I'm going to be sharing some outdoor craft ideas utilizing those rocks. Let's get crafting. I had done this welcome sign rock in a previous video and I still had the backside that I could decorate. So I thought I would do something really cute and fun and whimsical with it that I saw on Pinterest. Several of these craft projects today are going to be so easy, such as this one. You just need to have the right adhesives to make sure that they hold together outside. I really like to use Gorilla Glue products. So today I'm going to be using some silicone construction adhesive as well as their glue sticks. If you don't have a flat, large rock like this, you could definitely do this on a wood sign. You're also going to need to gather up some rocks to create some mushroom shapes. So you can see how I've got a chunky stem and then a mushroom cap look for the top. So just go through your rocks, go beachcombing, whatever you like to gather up some rocks in these shapes. I'm going to use a combination of the construction adhesive, and I'm also going to be using some hot glue. With the construction adhesive, I am going to add it at the touch points between the mushroom stem and the rock base, and then I'm going to use the hot glue. That's going to allow it to set instantly while the construction adhesive sets up. Nice thing about using the hot glue as well is that you can fill in any gaps that there may be on the backside of any of the rocks as well. Now I will admit I have not used this construction adhesive that many times, so I'm not sure how well it will hold up, but since it does say that it works well with different materials and that it's actually a construction adhesive, I figured this would work really well outside. So I'm going to fill in this rock with a total of 4 mushrooms. I do one off camera, but that is it. I'm going to set this outside by my front door, but I think this is just a fun, easy and whimsical piece. I have had these extra large IKEA tea lights in my stash for quite a while. You can see the difference inside between the regular size tea light and the jumbo size. And believe it or not, IKEA still carries them. So if you want to try them out, then you know where to find them. I'm using some clear Gorilla silicone to adhere these small polished rocks onto the side of the rock tin. Now I did stable it between a couple of blocks, and I'm using a craft stick to apply the silicone adhesive to the backside of these little rocks. Now I am using the silicone on this. I wanted to try it out. I am not using any hot glue this time around. So when you do go and use the silicone, it is going to remain slippery. So just be aware of that. You want to just work in sections for this project because they will still slip around until the silicone sets up. I'm not using any hot glue because obviously this is going to have a lot of heat once you light this candle, and I knew that the hot glue would only end up melting and dripping. I have used Gorilla hot glue outside out in the sun before, and it does hold up well, but I usually use it in combination with the silicone adhesive along with the hot glue. But in this case, I'm just going to be using just the silicone. So again, I'm just going to be working in sections here, puzzling my little stones together. Here I had done half of this project set up in about an hour or two. It's not completely set, but it was set enough that I could continue on working on the other half. I'm actually thinking of doing 2 more of these, and then I was planning on putting them on a chunky wood slab or something like that. You could also put these in like a decorative tray or something on a patio sun deck table or what have you, that would be such a pretty look. I really like how rustic these are looking. It beats the boring plain little tin that these tea lights are in. But yeah, overall, I'm really happy with how this turned out, and let me know what you think. I've shared this a few times in some videos recently. I am on a mission to use my stash. I'm really trying hard not to buy too many new craft supplies, although I admit I have bought a few. But I want to know, where do you struggle? What type of supply do you have a ton of? If I have that same thing, then I will try to come up with some craft ideas on how to use those items. I have this birdhouse. I got it from Dollar Tree a couple of years ago, and I knew I wanted to do something with it, but I just hadn't decided exactly what to do. You can see it comes with all the different little pieces here. I don't need the string, the glue, the little perch, or the eye hook, so I set those aside for another project. I'm going to give all the wood pieces a coat of some outdoor acrylic paint in the color brown. This is the Arteza brand, but use any brand that you like. You can even use some household exterior paint if you'd like. You just want to make sure that you're using a paint that's going to seal all your wood pieces, so then if it gets wet, it's not going to get wrecked by the rain or any moisture. So you want to give 1 to 2 coats on both the front and the back side, as well as all the edges. Again, we're making sure that this is all nice and watertight. And I will say it does hold up really well. I actually struggled washing my hands afterwards. I had to scrub really, really hard. And I usually am able to wash off like craft paint or just regular acrylic paint without a problem. But this one I did have to scrub. So I thought that was a really good indicator that this paint should work really well outside. Okay, so all my pieces are painted and dry. I'm going to use a combination of some hot glue and some silicone. I'm going to start off by just hot gluing all my pieces together first. And if you have this particular birdhouse, you want to make sure you follow the instructions that are on the back of the packaging. That's where I found my instructions. But if you use another piece or even a pre-made piece, that's totally fine. You won't need to do this step. Okay, so I added some hot glue, putting the pieces together, making sure it's all lined up. I kind of just use my thumb to kind of feel to make sure everything is aligned. If you get some excess glue, not a problem. We are going to be covering this up. So I'm just going to continue to glue all of these pieces together, and then I'm just going bit by bit. I'm adding the sides first, and then I'm going to be going in and adding some silicone just to seal up all those seams. So as I mentioned, I am going to be using some silicone. I'm using a craft stick that's rounded on one end, and that's how I'm going to apply it on the inside to all the seams. Now, the Gorilla hot glue is really, really good. But like I have said before, I like to combine the two. It's just in case one of the adhesives gives way, then you've got the other one to back you up. All right, so I'm just looking at my instructions here again because I was a little bit confused about the roof. I wasn't sure if I needed to overlap the pieces, but as I looked on the cover of the packaging, I did discover that I had them laid out properly. So just be aware of that if you do get this particular birdhouse. Just really follow those instructions and look at the packaging clearly. All right, so I'm going to just go ahead and just line everything up and go ahead and adhere my roof pieces, the little slats. I am just adding a little bit of hot glue at a time because there are a total of 4 pieces that I need to attach to my roof. One thing I will say though is do not attach the bottom to this at this point, and I'll show you why a little later. All right, my wood pieces are all in place on the roof. Now I'm gonna go in and add my silicone. I am going to add some under the roof line, and then I'm also going to add some to the roof peak, as well as to the sides of the roof. There was a seam in between the pieces, so I did seal that off as well. All these steps are just going to help to waterproof or make this birdhouse water resistant. And so I just didn't want this to end up falling apart, especially when we're putting so much work into this piece. So I wanted to create a hole in the bottom slat of my birdhouse. I'm just going to use this wood chomper that I have, or sorry, hole punch. It's like a big chomper. I'm just finding the center, and then I'm just going to use this tool to just kind of punch away, just kind of create a circle. You could just, I guess you could try to cut it out somehow. I'm not sure. I just did this. You could drill it out, I'm sure. This worked fine, but I just cut it out until it was big enough that I could stick a stick in there, which I'll show you later. All right, so now to cover this with some rocks. I'm using the construction adhesive for this. I find that the silicone and hot glue, it doesn't always work the best with the rocks, so I decided to try the construction adhesive for this. The construction adhesive I'm using, it is white in color, so you want to be careful how much you add, because unless you don't mind the look of the white showing through, but personally I didn't want that, so I'm just being careful how much I add. Another option would be to use some concrete compound, or some maybe, yeah, I think concrete compound would actually work really well, but I wanted to try this out, and so far the rocks are holding up really well. So I'm just going to continue to add these rocks, working in sections and letting it set up before I move on. If you have any other suggestions for any adhesives, glues, whatever you want to call them, please feel free just to drop that comment down in the comment section. It'll really help all of us out. All right, so I've let the rocks all set up all the way around. You want to be careful because I have found that as you're working, you can accidentally bump them and move them, or they might even fall off or whatever. So it really is best to work in sections, allow the adhesive to set before you move on. Okay, so the rocks are all on and the glue has set. Now to add the bottom. You can see the bottom doesn't fit because of the rocks. So I decided to trim this up, and I'm just going to use some scissors. I'll just be trimming along the edges, making sure I do both sides just to make sure that the hole stays center. And I'll just trim off those pieces until it fits on the bottom. So I trimmed enough away, it fits now, which is awesome. But now I've got some raw wood edges, so I'm just going to go ahead and paint those edges out. I'm also going to paint the inside of our hole as well. All right, that's all done. It's all dry. Now for the roof. I decided I wanted to cover the roof with a piece of birch bark. I love using birch bark for my crafts. And of course, this will weather, just to forewarn you. It's going to, of course, take a beating from the elements, but I personally am okay with that. If you don't want that to happen, then you might want to cover the roof maybe with some tin, or you could use more rocks. but I really like the organic look of the birch bark with the rock. So I'm just going to cut it down until I can fit it across my roof. I decided I'm going to find the center of my piece, and then I'm going to cut this piece in half. Really happy with how this little birdhouse is looking. It's so fun and such a unique piece. Okay, so now to attach the roof. I am again using my silicone and my hot glue. I'm just lining the pieces up, making sure I've got them facing the same way, since it's two pieces that, or sorry, a single piece that I cut in two. I'm just adding a couple of globs of the silicone, spreading it out, just making sure that I've got some spots left so I can add my hot glue. I'm not sure if I explained this, but what I like to do is use the hot glue for that immediate hold, and that will provide the adhesion, while the glue like silicone or any other long curing adhesive, it can set and you don't have to sit and hold it forever. All right, so I put the roof upside down. I'm pressing it down against the surface. I felt that was the best way to get a really good contact between the bark and the roof. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same side, same thing for the other side. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and fill in the seam at the roof peak. And this time around, I'm just going to use the Gorilla hot glue. If you add enough, it should provide a nice good seal. Plus, underneath, I had already sealed up the wood anyways. I decided to cover up that seam though. I didn't like the way it looked, so I'm just cutting a branch down. I'm trying to find a section that's as straight as possible, and I'm going to apply that to the top, again using some hot glue. You will want to work quickly with this. So I needed to go ahead and add the perch back in. I decided to use a branch for this as well. And there was a little bit of a spot left there where the original little bird perch was to go, but I wanted to use a branch. So again, using some hot glue, I'm going to put that in place. So as I mentioned before, I wanted to add a stick to the base. I want to be able to use this in a pot or in my garden. I thought it would be a cute little decorative element. You can see though, my branch is not straight, so I need to go foraging for some more branches because I'm running out of branches. Anyways, my hole was too big as well, so I'm going to fill it in a little bit with some hot glue. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit, and it's going to start to set actually very quickly. Next, I'm going to get my wood stick, and I'm going to put this in place. I'm going to hold it there, and I'm going to hold it till it sets. I'm going to also make sure that I keep my base nice and straight. I'm going in and adding some more hot glue over top, being quite generous as you can see. And that activated that hot glue that I had there already. So it did start to slip a bit, but I just held it into place until it was all solidified. Now I'm going to go ahead and add some silicone. Again, I just wanted to seal up the seam there between my branch and the base of the birdhouse. So I'm going to let that set up, and now I can adhere the base to the bottom of the birdhouse. I'm putting a nozzle on my silicone so I can get a smaller bead of the silicone, and I'm going to go ahead and run a bead on both sides and a little bit on the ends. Again, I like to use the hot glue just a little bit to help hold it in place while the silicone sets, so that's what I'm doing right now. All right, so all you have to do is put your base on, clean up any excess adhesive that may have oozed out along the edges, and then it's ready to go to put in a planter or in your garden. I think it's such a fun piece to have for a decorative element in your garden. Okay, this is going to be the easiest project of the day. You need some branches that you cut down to size and some roundish rocks. You're going to use your silicone or construction adhesive along with the hot glue. We're going to just attach these branches to the bottom of these rocks. Now, I will say, you want to be careful how much of the adhesives you use because they can kind of like react to each other. You'll also want to make sure that these stems are nice and flat so you've got good contact between the branch and the rocks. We are creating some cute little mushrooms. Now, as I said, with the adhesives, I find that silicone is a little bit oily. So if you get too much of the silicone, it can make the base of the rock kind of oily. And then I discovered that the hot glue did not want to stick to that spot. So just be aware of that. If you, like I said, if you choose, you could use the construction adhesive instead. I did find that the construction adhesive worked really well. And sometimes the hot glue, just so you know, does not stick to shiny rocks very well. So that's why, another reason why I like to combine the two adhesives. But for the most part, this worked pretty good. Just being aware of how much adhesive you use, gonna put these all together, and then you can put them in your, again, your planters or in your flower beds. And you'll also want to make sure that the stems are really nice and long so that they can stick into your pots or what have you really easily. You can see how fun these look. I can't wait to make more and spread them throughout my garden. I have so many more outdoor craft ideas for you to check out in this video right here. I want to thank you all so much for joining me today, and we will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.